talking to us, to me.
No worries. Yeah.
We're very keen on helping running go in a sustainable direction, and to do our bit. So I suppose really what I'd like to do is talk about Dan the runner a little bit, and then also talk about rerun and what we can do to help, and what suggestions you might have for runners, that they can do their bit.
Yeah.
So doing a little bit of research, Land's End to John O'Groats, obviously, is the big one that sort of pops up, and the most recent. Also reading a bit of the history of it, with Rivet and Butlins even. I mean, who knew that in 1960, 700 people started a race to do the whole thing?
It's a brilliant bit of history, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's, 1960 and 700 people. I mean, any race director would be chuffed with that start line.
Yeah, I don't know if any race director would be that chuffed with 700 people running down A roads, like dual carriageways.
Yeah.
But, I think there was quite a big prize on offer, wasn't there? On that
£1,000 to the first male and the first female. Again, in 1960, gosh, they led the way on equality.
Yeah. It's a great. I think there was a chap called Will who was trying to kind of resurrect the Butlins race, but yeah, health and safety these days, like I say, it's quite hard to cast people off into that busy dual carriageways. But I think he was doing it more like a 2-year open kind of, you can do it whenever you want sort of thing. But yeah, it would be wonderful if there was another 700 people kind of jogging up the country.
Charging down the A1, can you imagine? But presumably, going back to your record, I mean, I'm assuming that apart from obviously the fact that it's so long, that actually what makes it really hard is that you're doing most of it on roads. I mean, is that what breaks the body the most?
I don't know about breaking the body. I'm quite lucky. I quite like running on roads, and I seem to be a lot more efficient kind of running on roads. I don't mind it, so I'm quite lucky. But I think if people aren't used to running on roads and spend a lot of time on trails, if they were to attempt that particular route, I think it would be. I don't think it physically. I think it's more mentally on those roads. They're quite. They're just quite horrible places. Like you literally are a meter away from lorries and like cars traveling at like 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. Like it's quite I mean, I noticed it. I think when I ran, it was like 9 days, like, and there was only it was a couple of hours when it really got to me, the roads, when I actually felt scared but it got to me when my mind was at its weakest. So, when things get hard for you mentally, I think that's when the roads become more of an issue. Like you hear the noise of the cars and the spray of the surface water over you, and you kind of become mortal for a while and think, what am I doing? Like this is crazy. This is really dangerous, and it only happened to me for a couple of hours in that whole 9 days. So
you did have you had one low point, didn't you? Was it a couple of days from the end when everyone had to feed you up and bolster you along? And
I think maybe they just had to let me have that low point. My crew were brilliant, and I think they understand ultra running a lot, and they just I think they just let me be low for a while, understanding that that's part of it, and then yeah, and then it kind of, it always goes, doesn't it? That's what ultra running is about. It's like lows, but you have to remember, and it always works out, that the lows, after the lows, there's always a high, or a, I don't know about a high, but it always gets better, you know. Yeah.
You come out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're still the record holder for the GUCR. I mean, that's, you know, again, looking at that was 9-minute miles for 145 miles.
Yeah, I was really lucky on that day, actually. There was another runner. I was running with a lad called Mark Perkins, who an absolute, that's such a talented runner. And after that, it's so disappointing, because after the Grand Union Canal, he's been injured since then. I mean, it must have been like 6 or 7 years now. But yeah, luckily he just run 100 miles in under 12 hours, and me and him ran together. And I got lucky that I was running with him, and continually saying to him, I think we're going too fast. But yeah, I think the last 30 miles or so, he dropped off, and I was able just to carry on. So
he only came about half an hour after you, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, but sometimes races, it makes it easier, doesn't it, if you're there running along with someone, and then if someone's chasing you as well, it pushes you on a little bit, keeps you going, you know. So
like the backyards, isn't it? You have that assist.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've run one of those backyards, and I was just watching Harvey on that last one. I mean, they were completely different. I don't know. I didn't really enjoy the backyard.
No.
I did.
Which one did you do?
Northern Ireland. I enjoyed the race, the scenery, the route, but just the format. I don't know. I didn't, because you're not racing. It's not a race, is it? And it doesn't matter how fast you can go. You can't make the finish come any quicker. And it was, I like, for me, running's all about, it's about momentum. It's about keeping going. It's about, starting off and just not stopping and just keeping going. And it really, I found it really hard stopping, like continually stopping, you know. I can
imagine that. If you're good on the road and you're good at hitting that pace and just sticking to it, I can quite see how a backyard would be tricky, all that stopping and starting. I think it's a Marmite thing, isn't it? It's a love-hate.
I can see how it works, though. I was thinking about it today, actually. I can see how you get into that. I can see how you just get into that mindset of, not even a mindset, but just a habit of, because of the sleep deprivation and everything, of just that kind of just, that routine. Do you know what I mean? Run, stop for a little bit, get back out there, run, stop for a little. And I can see how your body kind of and your mind can kind of zone into it. Especially, I think the sleep deprivation is really, important, because you kind of lose. I've run a few races, you know, when you're up for like 70 hours and stuff, and it's interesting what happens to your mind. Like you can only focus on like one thing. So I can see how it becomes where your focus is just on that route every hour, and then sit down, just that route every hour, and you just,
everything else gets away.
Yeah, and after a while, when you're that sleep deprived, you don't have those thoughts of, I need to stop, or this is awful. This is, because your mind, it's like it doesn't have enough energy to have those thoughts anymore. It's just, you just focus on one thing, which is running. Yeah, it's quite a nice place to get to, but yeah, it's
pain to get to that stage, though.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is a lot of pain. I ran one race, and that race, and I was up for like 70 odd hours, and I actually floated out of my body. Like I was above, I was watching myself from up in the air. It sounds crazy, and it was such a beautiful state to be in, because like I felt no pain. I felt no like effort in my running. I was just watching myself run for about an hour or so. It was amazing. Yeah.
That's quite mind-bending, definitely.
Yeah.
Golly. So that brings me to rerun. You started it in India.
What brings me to rerun? The fact that I'm floating out of my body.
Well, well, India actually is what was floating around my head then, actually. Spiritual.
We need to find a link. Yeah. So you'll float. Yeah. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
How did it start in India? I mean, what were you doing in India in the first place?
We lived for a few years. I don't know lived, but we spent a lot of especially my kids sort of younger years in India. My wife used to be a Bollywood dancer in the films in India, so we went out there when my kids were like 2 and 5, and we stayed out there for a few years, and then we came back to England. But then we continually go back every for the whole winter, so like spend the winters in India. So yeah, I like the sunshine. So for like 15 years or so, we'd spend our winters in India. So it became, and in the same place in a little village in Goa by the beach. So it was like our second home, and it felt, I know my eldest child, for her it felt like home, because she kind of grew up there as well. So yeah.
But you were supporting the local communities there, doing your 5K runs.
Yeah, we used to like organise like a little sunset run, we called it, which is like basically like a park run without the flashy timing equipment. It was like us in a stopwatch, and yeah, we used to do that on the beach for the local community. And yeah, we used to give them out medals when they beat their PB, and then they were always beating their PB, and actually they were coming up with some brilliant ways to cheat on the races to get new medals. So then we made it that they had to get a medal, they had to beat their PB, but then they also had to do some community work as well. And that's when we started doing like a lot of tidying, a lot of like litter picking, and that's where the kind of like, not the idea, but the urge to do something came from. That's where Rerun came from, because we just started, like, we go and pick a little bit of litter on something that looked like I don't know, just a mound of dirt, and you pick up a bit of litter, and then you'd soon realise that mound of dirt was just a pile of rubbish, like entwined with a little bit of dirt. And it was just like it was just amazing how much rubbish was there, and like how much kind of textiles were thrown out, and just everything we'd find. And India's quite good for that, because it, like, problems like that with like rubbish and stuff, it's in front of your eyes the whole time. They don't have the infrastructure that they do in this country to hide things like that. Like we put things in bins, and quickly big lorries come along and take it away, and we don't know where it goes. You never see it. But in India, it's just there in front of your eyes. So even their like rubbish dump sites are just like open, and you can see like the amount of rubbish. They're really close to where you live, and and it just made us want to do something. Want to do something within our community. And because we're traveling quite a bit, like our community is not really, we don't see it as our locality, but more like the running community, like the community that we're part of. It just gave us the urge and like the passion to try and do something, to try and make a difference.
It's the rubbish, isn't it? It's the fact that everything is used once, throw away, and actually it's thinking about where does it go and how is it either just buried somewhere or left on.
So you think about that end of it. So you think about how it's used once and it's thrown away, and where does it go. And then you think about the front end of it as well. Well, like, so this thing has been used once and chucked away somewhere. Like, like, how was it made? Like, how was it manufactured? You know what I mean? And that, when you look into that, you see like the cost of, it's not just the cost to the earth on us discarding all these things, but it's more in the manufacture of these things. That's what, you know, it kind of has the most impact on the earth, the manufacture of these things, you know. Like, we talk at Rerun, we talk a lot about clothes because our focus is mainly on the kind of textile waste. That's where we look. And if you think about, for instance, a race t-shirt that might only be worn once or twice and then discarded, may end up in landfill, may end up in various different places. But when you look at its start of its life, you know, somewhere in the kind of global south, made by people who are not earning very much and like putting their lives at risk in these factories, and then the pollution that's caused to make the dye that dyes this t-shirt, and the carbon that's used to manufacture it, and especially with polyester. I mean, polyester is just, it's plastic and it's made from fossil fuels. It's made out of oil as well. So when you look into the whole life of something like, you know, like a race t-shirt that's used and then discarded, it kind of makes you think, like, why are we doing this? You know, like, this could easily be avoided. And it's like that with a lot of things, a lot of within our throwaway culture, isn't it?
I suppose, especially as they're so cheap, people think, well, you know, I don't like this one anymore, or I've got a tear in it, I'll just buy another one because it was only £8 to begin with.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy how cheap some clothes are, and like, how it's ridiculous that we don't all ask this question: how is this cheap? You know? Yeah. Like, we don't just snap your fingers and it appears. Like, there's a process into making this, and it's and when you start to think about how the global north kind of like extracts so much money out of the global south, like so that t-shirt's £8, but we're selling it here in the global north at £8, and we're like, the bulk of the profits made on this side. So the people who are manufacturing it is even less, you know, when you look at like running shoes and like how much they cost to buy, but how much they actually cost to make. It's crazy, you know, and it's
other end of the extreme.
Yeah,
but I imagine shoes. I mean, running shoes. You think about the materials that go into that. I mean, they must be quite a big villain on your sort of point of view. Are they not, with what they're made?
Yeah. Like, there's. I tell you, the worst thing about running shoes is so again, when you think about the life of particular things, the worst thing about running shoes is, for me, is there's a lot of components to go into them, and a lot of them are probably not that environmentally friendly. We know that, but for me it's the lack of foresight. Like, you with running shoes, is you make something, they really don't last that long on your feet, or we're told they're not supposed to last that long. And even if you get 1,000 more miles out of them, they're still not going to last you, you know, longer than a year or 2 years. But then for them to break down, for those components to break down and, you know, start to decompose, it's you know, hundreds of years, you know. So that there's no planning in terms of what happens to these after their use has been finished, you know. Right. And I'm sure these companies or sports brands have a lot of money. They make a lot of shoes, and I'm sure they have the technology and they have the minds and the intelligence to make shoes that can be, you know, that can be deconstructed at the end and used for different things, rather than just ending up basically in landfill. You know, like, you think that every running shoe that's ever been made is still here. It's still on the earth somewhere.
Yes.
Like buried somewhere or floating about in some waterway somewhere. Like it's still here. It's yeah, there needs to be better thinking about what happens to things, especially like shoes in their kind of afterlife.
Do you not think? I mean, there is a brand that I think they were talking about. You could send them back and they would remake.
Yeah, I think on running have talked about that, but it's still a concept at the moment. It's not happened at the moment. I just like to see these brands putting more of their money and more of their development money into making things like that happen, like now, rather than talking about them.
Yes. Well, you think with all the discussions at the moment,
yeah,
they would be.
And if shoes can make, if brands can make shoes that make you run marathons 5 minutes faster, or or get people to go under that kind of 2-hour marathon, then they can put their minds together and they can make shoes that can also be broken down and recycled properly, or like within a closed loop system somehow. So yeah, they can do it. It's just, yeah, they just don't want to do it at the moment. Yeah, but it's down to us as runners and as consumers to demand that they start doing that. Yeah,
it's the consumer, isn't it? And that's I think where Trees Not Trees have probably been really clever in appealing to the runner as well as the race director, but saying to the runner, hey, it's up to you. If you ask for it, the race director will make that change.
Yeah,
and that seems to be working, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's good. Trees Not Trees have been brilliant. Yeah, and I think especially in races like that, like a lot of all the races we run are put on by runners, aren't they? And actually, at the heart of why those races are put on, the majority of them, it's not to make money. It's to put on an event, and people are putting them on are runners themselves, so they understand it and they want to get they get it. So that's why Trees Not Tees has worked really well, because if runners ask, then most of the time races will say yeah, let's do that. It's our battle is with those brands that that it's all about profit. It's all about making more money. That's our battle.
So what can your average runner do? I mean, apart from write to their favorite brands and say, oi, what are you doing about making your shoes more recyclable? What can we do with what we have at the moment?
Well, that's a really good way. I mean, I think you've answered it yourself. Like with we all have stuff at the moment, and the best thing we can do is make the kit that we have, the shoes that we have, the race pack that we have. We look after it and we make it last as long as possible. We get the absolute maximum amount of life out of the clothes and the kit we have. And if we get a tiny little hole in our shoes, we can darn it and we can fix it, or we can put a sticker over it. And if we get a stain on the front of our t-shirt, so what? It's all right. Like, we think about function rather than fashion. And if your t-shirt still works as a running t-shirt, although it's got a stain on the front, then that's fine.
It's not a fashion.
No, it's not. And that's one thing that we try to campaign about, especially like within our community, is our clothes they should just be functional, because that's what we're using them for. The function is to help us run. And we should think about functionality rather than fashion, because we can ask brands to make more sustainable clothes, but the most sustainable clothing that we can have is the stuff that we already own. Because like I said earlier, so much, even if like Nike brought out this amazing sustainable shoe, it's still got to be made. There's still got the cost of the manufacture of that shoe. Like I say, leaves them a big scar on the earth. So the best thing we can do is just make what we've got last, you know, that last as long as possible, and even last our lifetime. Like, especially like clothes that we wear as runners, they're really hardy and they're really well made, and they're made out of like such synthetic fibers that they will outlive us. I know it's harsh to say it, but like our race t-shirts will still be around when we're gone, you know. So we might as well get the most out of them, or get the most out of those, like our Gore-Tex jacket, and fix it, and, you know, re-waterproof it, rather than buying another one. So the best thing we can do is just look after and love the clothes and equipment we've got.
It's also cost effective.
Yeah, it's like win-win. That's what I'm saying all the time. Yeah, and then you don't have to, and it's really nice when you start not like feeling like you need to buy another waterproof jacket, or you need to buy another t-shirt to wear. Then you kind of come out of that cycle of consumption, and you start seeing that like adverts don't really, you know, you don't really get drawn in by them, or like commercials and stuff, and you find that you just, it's completely win-win.
There are some manufacturers now that do offer repair services, aren't there? I mean, I'm looking at your coat there. Did you do that, or?
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, I did that. I think it's great. There's a lot more going on with people offering like services of fixing things up and stuff like that. But I think as well, like try and do it yourself at home as well. It's quite, like, those sort of fixes are quite easy to do, and they're like a skill that we've lost. But it's not like a skill like, you know, like most of us can't start a fire without a lighter, but that skill is like hundreds of years, thousands of years old, isn't it? We've kind of lost that skill. But the skill of like fixing our clothes, it's literally a generation. We've lost it in this generation. So it's really, you know, it's really simple thing for us to kind of I don't know, re-skill ourselves and to be able to do again. And all you got to do is just be bold and just try it yourself. And what's the worst that can happen is you can, your patch looks a bit weird, or a bit, you know, like a little bit bodged. But if the functionality of this jacket still works, then it's fine, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm a great believer in a product called Shugu.
That.
It's,
I know it well. Yeah.
What would you say to the road runner who is very competitive and says, well, I have to change my shoes every 500 miles because otherwise the cushioning is gone? It's bad for me.
I sympathise with that. I do sympathise with that, because actually I was having this conversation with Damien Hall the other day, and I came up with this analogy, so I'll share it with you. Because we've always been told that the shoes only last 300, 400, 500 miles or something. We've kind of conditioned our feet to run in shoes that are only that old. So our feet are so used to running in shoes like that. As soon as they get a little bit older, it feels weird. So we almost have to retrain your feet, and just, you know, make one pair last a month, 2 months longer, and then the next pair you can eke them out. It's because what I said to Damien, it's like someone who so when they were younger, they'd go on holidays and they'd fly like economy class, and they'd be fine flying economy class, it's all right. And then maybe they got a top job, and they were flying, I don't know, they started flying business class or first class, and then all of a sudden, when someone asked them to go back and fly economy class, they're like, there's no way I can do that, there's not enough leg room, I'm not getting in, can't stretch out. And it's the same sort of thing, like, that makes sense. Like, you've just got to, your feet are all right. Our feet I find you've not always worn bouncy trainers. You know, when we were younger, you may do with like scuffed up, I don't know, school shoes, and you were running all day in the playground in them, and you didn't get injuries, and you didn't. We've just got used to like running in bouncy shoes or flying first class. So it's just it's almost like retraining your feet basically. And I mean, you can
kind of keep them in a cycle. I mean, what I tend to do is I have a pair that I keep for races only that are sort of fairly new, and then the pair that I've worn through too many races, then my training pair, and then when they're out, they become my dog walking shoes, and kind of go down the line as they get older and older.
Yeah, and that must be quite nice to run. So you have your racing pair that you don't running that much, and when you stick them on, they must feel like really super bouncy and super that's probably quite a nice way of doing it.
And it's there are definitely some shoes. There's some shoes that I've kept because they were just so fantastic. I can't bear to get rid of them. I got some old Pearl Izumis that I mourn the death of running shoes that Pearl stopped making them because they were the most comfortable, and I can't get rid of them. They're too precious to me now.
Yeah. And you're still wearing them, or you're still
yeah, they're dog walking shoes. It doesn't matter how many holes they have.
Yeah. It's funny that, isn't it, that we're happy because people are good like that, with like their dog walking shoes. They don't care what they look like at all. But it's letting that like go up the, I don't know what you'd say, but go up to your. So you don't really care what your training shoes look like, and then you don't really care what your.
It's not what they look like. It's literally that my toes are hanging out. I can't run if my feet are hanging out that much.
Yeah, we've got some good hacks at Rerun. I think some like to fix those little holes in shoes and stuff, which you could do at home with that cost like, I don't know, like only a couple of quid to get the like the equipment you need to do it and stuff. So
is that sort of resource on your website, or?
I think I think we've got some YouTube tutorials. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, that's good. Well, we'll try and share those then. I think well, I think that's, we've got some good tips there for runners going forwards that hopefully our viewers will take on board, and I can share maybe some of your YouTube videos as well, and maybe ask the community, see what ideas have you got to make your stuff last longer, going to landfill.
We always like to see pictures of like people's old kit and stuff, and really champion that. I know when I'm at races and stuff, and Charlotte's even worse. We're always, when we see people in older kit, we're always asking to take pictures, or people with like trainers with holes in and stuff.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Oh, that is a good idea. Do you get tagged on Instagram or something, or?
Yeah. I think like We Run with Rerun. Is the tag.
Okay. So. Oh, cool. That's a good idea. It's a good idea. Make it something to be proud of.
Yeah, definitely. It should be something to be proud of. Yeah, rather than like you should walk out and like feel so good in your that you're wearing something that's so old and not so that it's got so many stories to it and like a history to it, rather than
well, I mean, we run so many adventures. I've got so much kit that I'm nostalgic about, because I remember doing such and such a race in it, or I did this, that, and the other in it. So I think it's nice, as you say, to keep as long as possible, so that you've got that history.
Yeah, and to keep wearing it as well.
Yeah.
When you go to buy something new, keep that old shirt in mind. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
For sharing all that. If there's anything we can do, tell us.
Just like I say, just wear your make your kit last. It's the best thing we can do.
I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, we've just got to get that message out, really, haven't we?
It seriously is the best thing we can do. Is just make your kit last as long as possible. Yeah, it's like I say, if you just extending kit by 9 months or so, you can start to reduce the water, carbon and waste footprint of it by over 30%. So
yeah, I saw that on your website. Yeah,
so it really is the best thing we can all do. Yeah, I
like the shoes hanging behind you.
Oh, there's I could show. There's lots of stuff hanging around. Yeah,
is that a job in progress? So do people send you things and you fix them, and then do you send them on to people who need them, or do you sell them?
It's a bit of everything. We get kit depending on the the quality of it. So the best stuff we get goes on our shoe bank, and the shoe bank works the same as a food bank, but it's just for running kit and equipment. Okay. We put some on our secondhand, you think of it like a secondhand, like a charity shop for running stuff, which is online. And then we send a lot out to refugee camps, refugee projects within this country as well. And we just everything that comes in, our main mission is to save all kind of textile waste within the running industry from landfill. So we just and the stuff that still has function, it's easier to find places. But then what we find is we have a lot. Our two problems are we have a lot of race t-shirts that they're just really poor quality, and they still have function left in them, but there's so many of them, it's really hard to find homes for them. So race t-shirts, and then also real end of life trainers as well. So with them, I kind of deconstruct them and then try and put them together as new trainers and use the material for all kinds of things as well. But there are two main problems in finding places for them to go.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, the shoes would be a big challenge. I mean, presumably the t-shirts and any sort of fabric can be made into something else, either a blanket or a dry robe.
It can be. It's the sheer scale of the race t-shirts that we receive make it really hard to and just the quality of them, they're so the really poor quality as well makes it really hard to make them into other things. The solution is to not have them, and then there isn't the problem of trying to find homes for them, basically.
I suppose what's easy to forget is that as a trail runner, I envisage races in the Lake District or whatever, where actually the numbers of runners are quite small, but actually when you think about it, you've got things like, well, the London Marathon or the Great North Run, where you've just got thousands and thousands of people.
And some races, some is all right. People use it. It's not. I don't have a problem with race t-shirts if people wear them and get 10, 20 years life out of them. I mean, that's fine, but it's just the fact that they are kind of produced as I don't know, they're like a single use, almost like a single use, or even all right, maybe you wear it for a year. You run the London Marathon in 2020 or 2019, you wear that t-shirt for a year, but then you run it again in 2020. So then you use the 2020 one. So a year's not, even if you wear it for a year, that's still not good enough. You're still not getting the life that it deserves, basically, for the cost of its manufacture. And runners, we run, or you run an event every couple of weeks as well. So you start to collect all of these t-shirts, even if it's from a smaller event as well. And
do people not keep them as keepsakes of that event?
They do, but that's Yes, they do. But even keeping them as a keepsake, eventually they're going to end up like somewhere. Like that's like that. Like I say, the cost in the manufacturing of them is so big that just making them for a keepsake is like, it seems a bit pointless. It's like
just have
it's like saying, well, it's all right making plastic bags. I don't throw them away because I keep them for a keepsake for every time I go shopping. It's like, you don't need, there's no purpose for them. Like, we don't need to make stuff where there's no real purpose for it, you know, like it's
yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yes, that's a big mountain to climb. Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, well, it is. It's the classic thing is like you're saying, like you can make them at dry robes, you can do this, you can do that, but that's like, it's another way of looking at it. That's like it's like the kitchen tap being turned on and the sink overflowing and you walking into the kitchen and just mopping the floor constantly, but not switching the tap off. Like, the solution is to switch the tap off.
Yeah.
You know, then mop the floor and then there's no more water coming. But what we're doing at the moment within this, like the way that the whole that everything's set up with our overconsumption and overproduction, is we're not turning the tap off. We're just having to continually mop the floor, and you can never you know, make the floor dry, basically.
No, interesting.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. You need a campaign, stop the t-shirts, full stop. Or polyester, maybe. I mean, maybe if it was a sort of an attractive cotton t-shirt that you would, you know.
Well, yeah, stop polyester. I mean, I think we could stop producing all clothes for a good 10 years and no one would go short of clothes. There's enough clothes out there to you know, to clothe the world. If we stop producing for 10 years, definitely, you know. But that's quite a severe
yeah, I'm not sure.
I think it just, it is crazy the amount of I think there's a statistic, I think 66.3 million pairs of shoes were made every day in 2018. That's a lot. Yeah.
As you say, it's because everything is so cheap.
Yeah.
People just say, right, well, you know, I don't like this anymore, or it doesn't go with my outfit anymore. I'm just going to throw it away and then buy another one because I can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, we are getting there. Let's not leave this on a.
Let's not depress ourselves too much. No. Thank you.